I'm just lazing on a Sunday afternoon right now, and I just wanted to point out some of the good things. Good, real good things. Like, seriously, this is actually so much better than I thought we would be looking at, and I think that the status quo today of what we have with JT Miller is so much better than what anybody would have expected that I can't do anything but just sit here Sunday and just be thankful for that. Let's talk about how good JT Miller has been. And this is not going to be some super analytical video with a whole bunch of stats thrown at you. This is more just from a casual hockey fan's point of view, taking a look at JT Miller and the impact that he has made with the Vancouver Canucks and how he's been so much better than pretty much anyone thought he would even have the potential to be with the Vancouver Canucks in 2019-20 so far. Now, we're 30 games played into the year right now, and JT Miller is at 31 points. He's second on the Vancouver Canucks in total scoring behind Elias Pettersson and ahead of Boeser, Horvat, and Quinn Hughes, who happens to be there too. We're just about over a third of the way through the year, and JT Miller is up here as probably one of the more impactful Canucks all season. And it comes as no surprise, because a lot of people touted JT Miller the moment he was traded from the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Canucks as a good offensive player who just wasn't being given the ice time nor the minutes to succeed. However, he's been given all of that here in Vancouver, and he's truly exploited it to the best that we could have ever hoped for. Because taking a look at how things are right now, JT Miller is riding, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-game point streak where he's picked up a total of 11 points. He's totally been on fire, and he's been one of the more consistent Canucks throughout the entire year. Just sticking along with the numbers here, let's take a look at how good JT Miller has been among the rest of the league. Because JT Miller, with his 31 points in the league, is tied with Nikita Kucherov on the Lightning. Kucherov leads the Lightning in points. In fact, if Miller was playing on the Lightning, he would be tied for first in points. Now, obviously, the games played is a discrepancy there. The Canucks have way more games played than the Lightning do, but still, the Tampa Bay Lightning only have probably the best roster in the NHL, right? It's either that or Boston, right? All around, Hedman, Kucherov, Stamkos, Braden, Point, Vasilevsky, they have probably the best team in the league, right? So, just having that conversation in itself is lovely. JT Miller is tied in points right now with Alexander Ovechkin. He has more points than Evgeny Kuznetsov. He has more points than Mark Scheifele, Mark Stone, Ryan Getzlaf, William Nylander, Johnny Gaudreau, Tyler Seguin, the aforementioned Braden Point, Claude Giroux, Alex DeBrincat. These are all players that many people would consider are pure elite talents, the ones that define the game as they are today. And JT Miller has more points than all of them. Now, obviously, that's just me picking and choosing some of the names that stand out to me, because there are some other guys on here that do have a ton of points that most people wouldn't really expect. Like, what the heck? Jonas Donskoy has 25 points? That's crazy. But, like, obviously, this is just contributing to the idea that I'm trying to present, that JT Miller has legitimately been so good that anything that a first-round pick in the latter half of the first round this year in the draft that the Canucks could get, honestly, I would choose Miller over that. Sure, the prospect of getting an Antonio Stranges in the mid-20s in the 2020 NHL draft, it sounds great. But he's not going to help our team until like 2020 to 2023. By then, we would have already had to pay Pettersson and Hughes and all that stuff. The money would be a little bit too high. We wouldn't be able to afford the guys that we do have, and the window would be much different. The way things are right now, we would be really lucky if that first round pick that we sent over to Tampa ends up like JT Miller. Because JT Miller today is still young. The guy's 2 years older than Bo Horvat, and he's on a really good contract at $5.25 million. For a player that is point per game, for a player that is top of the league in scoring, for a player that's tied with Ovechkin in points, and a guy who totally just changed our first line and the power play and how everything comes together. A guy who's on an 8-game point streak with 11 points in that span, and a guy who would be the top scorer on the Tampa Bay Lightning if he was there right now. I think it's a really good price. Now, obviously, Canucks fans, they've always had their things with first-round picks. We love first-round picks over here. Look at that. We got Boeser, Hughes, and Pettersson. And obviously, there's value in getting players like that. But obviously, the idea here is that the window for the Canucks starts today. It started the moment JT Miller was traded here. It started that day. So, from that moment, the Vancouver Canucks put themselves in a position where they wanted to make the playoffs and they wanted to win now. JT Miller, he helps now. He helps a few years from now. And I know this is just a repeat of that video I made a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, talking about the underrated leadership aspect of JT Miller that was brought up in Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts. But he's been legitimately doing well in the scoreboard too, and nobody would have expected that. Nobody would have expected JT Miller to be a 31-point-in-30 game guy on pace for about 83 points. No one expected that. You know what people did expect? I was on Twitter, I was on Reddit, I was on social media when Vancouver traded for Miller, and I saw people saying things like, yeah, okay, he's probably going to get about 50 points, 60 if he's lucky. 45 is guaranteed, right? But now he's 3/4 of the way there to 45, and it's only 30 games into the year. JT Miller has legitimately been so strong, and I can't stress enough that he's blown all of my expectations out of the water. He was one of the first players on the team in points earlier on in the year, and people were like, great, he's gotten off to a hot start, that's awesome. Let's see what happens 30 games in, and he's still there. Still there. He does everything that Michael Furland was brought in here to do, win the board battles, win the puck possessions, and actually control the play physically too. But he's able to compete with Petey and Brock because he still has that offensive IQ, that elite vision that allows him to make crisp plays and make really nice quality scoring chances. Setting up guys like Tyler Myers after receiving the pass on his backhand on the rush shorthanded. Things like that. Things like setting up and just not being afraid to let one rip, shatter the water bottle in the process over there. Being the guy who honestly can control the down-low area on the power play really well. You know the power play kind of has its own set formation there. Petey on the right, Boeser on the left, Quinn up high, top of the umbrella, Bo Horvat in the slot, and JT Miller kind of controlling things in the corners and down low. He does a really good job at cycling the puck around like that. And as a result, he's always getting those assists. Whenever Quinn Hughes gets the puck at the point, he takes a shot. Miller's either there to tip it on or pass it over to somebody out in front, or Miller's the guy who sets it up and sends it over to the guys who do get the goals. It's been a really good system. And I'm not saying that it's going to last forever. This is probably as ephemeral as this video's relevance is going to be, but oh boy, what a great addition. Maybe I'm kicking myself in my behind in a few years when Antonio Strangis for the Tampa Bay Lightning becomes a 100-point player, or whoever they get with the Vancouver First becomes a 150-point player, the next Gretzky or whatever. Maybe that happens, and maybe I sit here and say, darn, wouldn't it be nice if we were older and no, if that player was a Vancouver Canuck. But for now, I really like JT Miller. And we have him for a few more years, so the opportunity where Petey, Boeser, and Hughes all have their windows growing, yeah, Miller's going to be there too. And it looks great. Can't say the same thing about that 2020 draft pick, right? Who knows? Hindsight is 2020. We don't really know for sure, but for now, Miller is looking awesome. Hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.